My name is Michael Rodriguez. It's a story about trust, betrayal, and ultimately, justice. But more than that, it's about how the person you think you know better than anyone in the world can become a complete stranger in the span of a few moments. I was 38 years old, working as a financial analyst at Wells Fargo's Minneapolis office. It wasn't the most exciting job in the world, but it paid well, and I was good at it. Numbers made sense to me. They were predictable, logical, honest. Unlike people, numbers never lied. My wife Sarah was 35, a marketing manager at Target Corporation's headquarters in Minneapolis. We'd met at a mutual friend's wedding 13 years ago. I still remember seeing her across the reception hall, her dark hair swept up, laughing at something her table companion had said. It took me 3 drinks to work up the courage to ask her to dance. I don't usually dance with guys who need liquid courage, she'd teased, but she'd taken my hand anyway. We were married 2 years later in a small ceremony at St. Mary's Cathedral. Her parents, Carlos and Maria Martinez, had flown in from Duluth. My family came from Chicago. It was perfect, intimate, genuine, full of hope for the future. The first 10 years of our marriage were everything I'd hoped for. We bought a starter home in Bloomington, worked our way up in our careers, traveled when we could. We talked about kids, of course. Sarah seemed excited about the idea at first, but as time went on, she became more hesitant. I want to establish myself more at Target first, she'd say. Let's wait another year. Another year became another 2, then 3. Finally, about 4 years ago, Sarah sat me down for a serious conversation. Michael, I need to tell you something, she'd said, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea. I've been seeing a specialist. There are complications with my reproductive system. Having children would be extremely dangerous for me. I'd held her as she cried, told her it didn't matter, that she was all I needed. And I meant it. We had each other, we had our careers, we had a good life. We'd bought our dream home in Edina 2 years ago. A beautiful 4-bedroom colonial that we'd gotten for a steal at $650,000 during a dip in the market. Together, we were pulling in about $180,000 a year. Not rich by Minneapolis standards, but comfortable. We had savings, retirement accounts, a plan for the future. Everything was on track. Looking back now, I can pinpoint exactly when things started to change. It was last May, about 8 months before everything fell apart. Sarah had come home from work excited about a new company wellness initiative. They're partnering with Memorial Blood Center, she'd explained over dinner. Encouraging employees to donate regularly. And get this, I'm O negative, universal donor. They need my blood type desperately. That's great, honey, I'd said, cutting into my steak. I'm proud of you for wanting to help. I'm going to commit to every 2 weeks, she'd said, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. The coordinator said that's the maximum frequency allowed. Think of how many lives I could save. And so it began. Every other Tuesday or Thursday, Sarah would leave work early for her donation appointment. She'd come home around 5:30, always with a small bandage on her inner elbow, always talking about how good it felt to help others. The first sign something was off came in July. I'd gotten home early from work with a summer cold and was lying on the couch when Sarah breezed in from her donation appointment. Hey, sick guy, she said, leaning down to kiss my forehead. How are you feeling? Like death, I croaked. How was the donation? Oh, same as always. They were so grateful. Apparently there's a real shortage right now with people on vacation. She headed upstairs to shower. She always showered immediately after donations. Said the antiseptic smell bothered her. But as she passed by, I caught a whiff of something else. Perfume. Expensive perfume, not her usual scent. And was that men's cologne underneath? Did you go somewhere after? I called up the stairs. What? She called back over the sound of running water. Nothing, I muttered, telling myself I was being paranoid. The cold was probably messing with my sense of smell, but the doubt had been planted. Over the next few weeks, I found myself noticing things. Sarah never seemed tired after her donations, despite supposedly losing a pint of blood. The bandages on her arm were always perfectly placed, but seemed almost decorative. No bruising, no real puncture marks that I could see. And she was always so happy when she came home, practically glowing. One evening in August, I decided to do a little research. I pulled up the Memorial Blood Center website while Sarah was at her book club. Donors may experience fatigue for 48 hours after donation, I read aloud to our cat Whiskers. Light bruising at the puncture site is normal and may last up to 2 weeks. Whiskers meowed and rubbed against my leg, uninterested in my detective work. I thought back to Sarah's donations. No fatigue, no bruising. And another thing. The website said O-negative donors were indeed universal donors, but it also mentioned that only about 7% of the population had this blood type. I remembered Sarah mentioning her blood type years ago during a medical emergency with her mother. She'd said she was A positive, disappointed she couldn't donate to her O-negative mother. My hands felt cold as I closed the laptop. Why would she lie about her blood type? September rolled around and my suspicions grew. I started paying closer attention to the small details. Sarah's donation days were always Tuesdays or Thursdays, always in the afternoon. She'd leave work around 2:30 and be home by 5:30. 3 hours for a blood donation seemed excessive. Traffic was terrible, she'd explain if I mentioned the time. The wait was longer than usual today, she'd say other times. Always an excuse, always delivered with that same bright smile. One Thursday evening in late September, I decided to test her. As she headed for her post-donation shower, I called out, "Hey, honey, I was thinking of starting to donate, too. Which Memorial Blood Center location do you use?" There was a pause, the sound of footsteps stopping on the stairs. "Oh, the one on Nicolette?" she called back, her voice slightly higher than usual. "But they're pretty booked up. Maybe try a different location. I think there's one in St. Paul that takes walk-ins." "Maybe we could go together next time," I suggested. "Make it a couple's thing." "That's sweet, but they stagger appointments. Wouldn't really work. Besides, I like having that time to myself. You understand, right?" "Of course," I said. But I didn't understand. Not at all. That night, I couldn't sleep. Sarah lay beside me, breathing peacefully, occasionally murmuring in her sleep. Once, I could have told you what she dreamed about. Now, lying next to her felt like sharing a bed with a stranger. At 3 a.m., I gave up on sleep and went downstairs. I opened my laptop and searched for Memorial Blood Center locations in Minneapolis. There were several, but none on Nicolette Avenue. My heart sank. Such a simple lie, so easily disproven. Why hadn't she just named a real location? The next morning, a Friday, I called in sick to work. As soon as Sarah left for Target headquarters, I drove to every Memorial Blood Center location in the Twin Cities metro area. At each one, I showed her picture to the staff, explained I was trying to surprise my wife with a donation in her honor. "I'm sorry," the coordinator at the 5th location said, the same response I'd gotten everywhere else. "I don't recognize her, and she's not in our system. Are you sure she donates with Memorial?" "That's what she told me," I said, my voice hollow. The woman gave me a sympathetic look. "Sometimes people donate through their workplace. Maybe she goes to a corporate blood drive." I thanked her and left, but I knew that wasn't it. Target's corporate blood drives were held quarterly in their headquarters. I'd been to the Family Day events. There was no way Sarah was donating blood every 2 weeks at work. October arrived with a cold snap that matched my mood. I'd started keeping a journal, documenting Sarah's donation days, her excuses, her moods. The pattern was clear every other Tuesday or Thursday: leave work at 2:30, home by 5:30, shower immediately. Unusually happy for the rest of the evening. I'd also started checking our joint credit card statements more carefully. There were no charges that seemed suspicious, no hotel rooms, no restaurant bills for two, nothing that screamed affair. But then again, if Sarah was being careful, she wouldn't use our joint cards. The breaking point came on a Thursday in late October. I decided to follow her. I know how that sounds, like I'd become some sort of stalker, but I had to know. The not knowing was killing me. I told my boss I had a dental appointment and left work at 2 o'clock. I parked across from Target headquarters and waited, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. At 2:47, I saw Sarah's silver Honda Accord exit the parking garage. My heart pounded as I pulled into traffic behind her, staying several cars back. She didn't head toward any of the Memorial Blood Center locations. Instead, she drove southwest on Interstate 394 toward the affluent suburbs. 20 minutes later, she exited in Edina and navigated through tree-lined streets until she pulled into a parking lot. Edina Plastic Surgery and Wellness Center, the sign read in elegant script. I parked across the street, my mind racing. Plastic surgery? Was that what this was about? Was she getting procedures done and too embarrassed to tell me? Part of me felt relieved. If this was just about Botox or something similar, we could work through that. It wasn't ideal that she'd lied, but it was understandable. Society put so much pressure on women to look young. I waited, watching the entrance. 90 minutes passed. I was about to give up and leave when the door opened. Sarah emerged, but she wasn't alone. The man beside her was tall, probably 6'2", with the kind of muscular build that came from hours in the gym. He wore fitted athletic wear that showed off his physique. They were deep in conversation, and as I watched, Sarah threw her head back and laughed at something he said. It was the laugh that got me. I'd heard that laugh 1,000 times over our years together, but seeing it directed at this stranger felt like a physical blow. Then he put his hand on the small of her back, guiding her toward the parking lot. It was such an intimate gesture, so casually possessive. They stopped at her car, continuing their conversation. Through my windshield, I could see Sarah's animated gestures, the way she touched his arm when she spoke. Then she did something that shattered my world completely. She stood on her tiptoes, wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him. Not a friendly peck, not a grateful patient thanking a service provider. A kiss that lasted several seconds, bodies pressed together, the kind of kiss she used to give me when we were young and couldn't keep our hands off each other. When they finally broke apart, he said something that made her laugh again. She got in her car, and he walked to a black BMW parked a few spaces away. They left separately, but I noticed they both checked their phones before driving off. Texting each other already, no doubt. I sat in my car for another hour, unable to move. The rational part of my brain was already cataloging next steps: lawyer, evidence, finances. But the emotional part was screaming, raging, dying. 12 years. We'd been married for 12 years. How long had this been going on? Who was this man? What else had she lied about? When I finally made it home, I went straight to the bathroom and vomited. Then I sat on the bathroom floor and cried for the first time since my father's funeral 5 years ago. By the time Sarah got home, I'd pulled myself together, washed my face, and was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop, pretending to work. "Hey, you," she said, breezing in with that post-donation glow. "How was your day?" "Fine," I managed. "Yours?" "Oh, the usual. Work was crazy, but the donation went well. They said my iron levels were perfect." She kissed the top of my head as she passed. "I'm going to grab a quick shower before dinner." "Sarah," I said, and something in my voice made her pause. "Yeah?" I looked at her, really looked at her. When had she started wearing her hair differently? When had she lost those extra 10 pounds she'd always complained about? How had I missed the changes? "Nothing," I said. "Just, I love you." Her face softened. "I love you too, Michael. You okay? You seem off." "Just tired. Big project at work." She bought it because why wouldn't she? I'd never given her reason to think I suspected anything. As I listened to the shower running upstairs, I made a decision. I wouldn't confront her. Not yet. First, I needed to know everything. The next morning, I called Morrison Investigations. I'd found them through a discreet Google search for Private Investigators Minneapolis divorce. They had excellent reviews and, more importantly, promised complete confidentiality. Jake Morrison met me at a coffee shop in St. Paul the following Monday. He was in his mid-50s, with gray hair and the weathered look of someone who'd spent years as a cop before going private. Infidelity case? He asked, after we'd exchanged pleasantries. I think so, I said, sliding Sarah's photo across the table. My wife. She's been lying about blood donations as a cover story. I followed her once. She went to a plastic surgery center in Edina, met with a man. Jake studied the photo, then looked at me with surprisingly kind eyes. You sure you want to know everything? Sometimes ignorance really is bliss. Can't unring that bell once it's rung. I'm sure, I said, though I wasn't. I need to know what I'm dealing with. Financial improprieties, how long it's been going on, who he is, everything. All right. Standard infidelity case runs about $3,000 for 2 weeks of surveillance. That includes photographs, financial investigation, background check on any third parties, and a comprehensive report. That work for you? I wrote the check with a steady hand, though inside I felt like I was signing my own divorce papers. One more thing, Jake said as he pocketed the check. You need to act normal. Don't change your routine, don't act suspicious, don't go through her things. Let me do my job. Can you handle that? I can handle it, I said. The next 2 weeks were torture. I went to work, came home, had dinner with Sarah, watched our shows together, went to bed beside her. We even made love twice, though both times I had to close my eyes and try not to think about her with him. Sarah continued her donation routine, that Tuesday and the following Thursday. Both times, she came home glowing, showered immediately, and was extra affectionate with me. The guilt, I realized. She was overcompensating. You've been so sweet lately, I said one evening as she curled up against me on the couch. Have I? She said. I realize how lucky I am sometimes. To have you, our life together. I love you, Michael. I love you too, I said, and meant it. That was the worst part. Despite everything, I still loved her. Jake called on a Wednesday afternoon, exactly 2 weeks after our initial meeting. Can you meet tomorrow? Same place? Same time? That bad? I asked, my stomach dropping. Let's just say you'll want to be sitting down for this. The next day, Jake slid a manila folder across the table to me. It was thick, too thick. Before we start, he said, I want you to know I'm sorry. Nobody deserves this. I opened the folder with trembling hands. The first page was a detailed bio. His name is Derek Walsh, Jake began. 29 years old, married to Emma Walsh, an elementary school teacher at Wayzata Elementary. They have 2 kids, Chloe, age 7, and Mason, age 5. He works as a personal trainer at Lifetime Fitness in Edina. Married, I said, the word tasting bitter. With kids? Yeah. Real prince, this guy. They've been meeting at the Edina Plastic Surgery Center every Tuesday and Thursday for approximately 8 months. The center offers various cosmetic procedures, but they also have private recovery suites. Recovery suites? Jake's expression was grim. They rent them by the hour. Officially for post-procedure recovery. Unofficially, well, it's a discreet location for people who want privacy. No cameras in the suites, separate entrance, cash payments accepted. I flipped to the next page. Photographs. Dozens of them. Sarah and Derek entering the clinic together, kissing in the parking lot, him with his hand on her lower back, her looking up at him adoringly. The timestamps showed encounters going back 8 months, just as Jake had said. There's more, Jake said. The financial stuff. This is where it gets really bad. The next section made my blood run cold. Credit card statements in Sarah's name that I'd never seen. 3 different cards, a Visa, a MasterCard, and an American Express. All opened in the last 8 months. The charges were staggering. $47,000? I choked out. In 8 months, Jake confirmed. Botox, lip fillers, laser treatments, body contouring, chemical peels, plus the suite rentals, of course. But look at this. He pointed to specific charges: restaurant bills at high-end places, hotel charges at the W Minneapolis, the Hewing Hotel, the Four Seasons, purchases from Nordstrom, Lululemon, Victoria's Secret. She's not just getting procedures, I said slowly. She's financing an entire lifestyle. It gets worse. Look at how she's paying for it. I flipped to the next section. The credit cards were all in her name, but the application showed our household income. She'd used my social security number as a co-applicant without my knowledge. That's fraud, I said. Yep, and there's this. Jake showed me a document from Fidelity. Sarah had withdrawn $15,000 from her 401k 6 months ago, claiming hardship for medical expenses. Let me guess, I said, my voice hollow. No medical expenses. Not unless you count making herself look good for her boyfriend as a medical emergency. But Michael, we're not done yet. He pulled out his phone and showed me an Instagram page. New U.S. couple, 2025. The profile was private, but Jake had somehow gained access. She and Derek have a joint Instagram account. They call themselves the New Us couple. Look at this. I scrolled through the posts, each one a fresh wound. Gym selfies with captions like, couples who train together, stay together. Progress photos showing their transformation journey. Pictures of them at restaurants I recognized from the credit card bills. And then I saw it. A photo of Sarah in workout clothes, Derek's arms around her from behind, with the caption, "My real husband?" #true love, #new life, #authentic. My real husband, I repeated, the words like acid in my mouth. Posted 3 weeks ago, Jake said. There's more. They work out together at the Target corporate gym. He has a guest pass through her. And Michael, they're planning a future together. He showed me screenshots of text messages he'd somehow obtained. Derek telling Sarah he loved her, that Emma meant nothing to him, that as soon as they both got divorced, they'd start fresh. Sarah responding with heart emojis and promises of their life together. One message from Sarah stood out. Just a few more months of pretending. Then we can stop living these fake lives and be together for real. We'll use the settlement money to start our wellness business. Settlement money, I said. She's planning to divorce me and use the money to start a business with him. That's the plan. She's also been using her Target corporate card for some expenses. Meals with Derek, a few hotel rooms. That's not just marital misconduct. That's theft from her employer. I closed the folder, my hands shaking. How did I miss this? 8 months, Jake. 8 months of lies. Don't blame yourself, Jake said. These people, they get good at deception. The blood donation story was clever. It gave her a regular excuse to leave work, a reason to shower when she got home, and it painted her as altruistic. Most spouses would never question it. What do I do now? You get a lawyer, a good one. With this evidence, you'll be able to prove dissipation of marital assets. In Minnesota, that means she'll have to reimburse the estate for money spent on the affair. The fraud charges give you even more leverage. But Michael. He leaned forward. Whatever you do, don't confront her yet. Get your ducks in a row first. Protect yourself financially. Then decide how you want to handle it. I paid Jake his final fee and took the folder. As I walked to my car, I felt strangely calm. The uncertainty was gone, replaced by cold, hard facts. My marriage was over. Had been for 8 months, I just hadn't known it. But as I drove home, that calm began to morph into something else. Anger. Not hot rage, but a cold, calculating fury. Sarah hadn't just cheated. She'd stolen from me, committed fraud, planned to take me for everything in a divorce while building a new life with her married boyfriend. She'd looked me in the eye every day for 8 months and lied with a smile. By the time I pulled into our driveway, I'd made a decision. Sarah wanted to live authentically, She wanted to stop pretending? I'd help her do exactly that. But first, I needed a plan. I started with the essentials. The next day, while Sarah was at work, I opened a new checking account at US Bank, a different institution from our joint accounts at Wells Fargo. I transferred just enough to cover a few months of expenses, not enough to raise suspicions if Sarah checked our accounts. Then I gathered all our important documents: birth certificates, passports, tax returns, investment statements, the deed to the house, our marriage certificate. I made copies of everything and put the originals in a safety deposit box that only I could access. Next, I made an appointment with Rodriguez and Associates, a family law firm recommended by a colleague who'd gone through a divorce. Maria Rodriguez, no relation despite the shared surname, was exactly what I needed: sharp, experienced, and absolutely ruthless when it came to protecting her clients. Dissipation of marital assets, she said, after reviewing Jake's report, her perfectly manicured nails tapping on the folder. In Minnesota, if one spouse wastes marital money on an affair, they can be ordered to reimburse the estate. With this evidence, she'll owe you every penny of that $47,000. What about the house? I asked. We'd bought it 5 years ago for $650,000, and it was worth more now. Normally it would be split, but with her dissipation and the corporate theft, you've got a strong case for keeping it. The fraud charges give us even more leverage. She used your social security number without permission. That's identity theft. So what's the strategy? Maria smiled like a shark scenting blood. We document everything. Continue gathering evidence. When we're ready, we file first. The element of surprise is crucial. Don't give her time to hide assets or create counter-narratives. I want more than that, I said. I want her to face consequences, real consequences. Maria studied me for a moment. What did you have in mind? Her birthday is coming up in March. She's been dropping hints about wanting a big party. And I told her my plan. When I finished, Maria was actually grinning. It's unconventional, she said, but perfectly legal. And with the corporate theft angle, her employer will definitely want to know. Just make sure you don't do anything that could be construed as harassment or revenge porn. Keep it factual, documentable, and public. November passed in a blur of pretense. I became an actor in my own life, playing the role of loving husband while secretly documenting everything. I installed a tracking app on my phone that recorded my location alibis for when Sarah was with Derek. I kept detailed notes of her lies, her moods, her spending patterns. The hardest part was maintaining physical intimacy. Sarah seemed to want sex more often, probably the thrill of her affair combined with guilt. I obliged, but it felt hollow, mechanical. Afterward, she'd curl against me, and I'd lie awake wondering if she'd been with Derek earlier that day. You've been distant lately, she said one night in early December. Is everything okay? Just work stress, I lied. Year-end reports, you know how it is. Poor baby, she cooed, stroking my chest. Maybe we should plan a vacation. Somewhere warm for New Year's? Maybe, I said, knowing we'd never take that trip. December brought holiday parties and family obligations. We flew to Chicago to spend Christmas with my family. My mother, always perceptive, pulled me aside. Is everything all right with you and Sarah? She asked. You seem different together. We're fine, Mom, I said, hating to lie to her. Just tired from work. She didn't look convinced but didn't press. Sarah played the perfect daughter-in-law, helping with cooking, buying thoughtful gifts, charming everyone. Watching her, I wondered if our entire marriage had been a performance. We spent New Year's Eve at Sarah's parents' house in Duluth. Carlos and Maria Martinez adored their only daughter, bragged about her constantly to their friends. Sarah's always been special, Maria said over dinner. So thoughtful, so caring. Did she tell you about her blood donations? Every 2 weeks, saving lives. We're so proud. I nearly choked on my wine. Sarah had told them too. You raised an amazing woman, I managed to say. Sarah squeezed my hand under the table. I learned from the best, she told her parents. January arrived with a vengeance, bringing sub-zero temperatures and my final preparations. Sarah's 36th birthday was March 15th, 2.5 months away. She'd been dropping hints since Christmas. I've always wanted a party at the Minnetonka Country Club, she said one evening, scrolling through their website on her tablet. Something elegant, you know. Maybe invite some people from work. Mark's wife threw him a party there last year, and it was gorgeous. Mark was her boss. I filed that information away. That could be nice, I said. How many people were you thinking? Oh, not too many. Maybe 50 or 60. Enough to make it special, but not overwhelming. I'll look into it, I said, and I meant it. The next day, I called the Minnetonka Country Club and booked their lake room for March 15th. The event coordinator was thrilled to help plan what I described as a surprise celebration of my wife's life. How wonderful, she gushed. We love doing surprise parties. Will you need catering for how many? Let's plan for 75, I said. I want to make sure all her colleagues can attend. While Sarah continued her twice-weekly donations, I threw myself into party planning with an enthusiasm that surprised her. Since when are you so into event planning? She asked one evening in late January, finding me browsing invitation designs. You only turned 36 once, I said, forcing a smile. I want it to be special. You deserve something amazing. She kissed my cheek, and I caught that new perfume scent again. Derek's influence, probably. You're the best husband ever, she said. The words burned, but I kept smiling. I try. I sent out invitations in early February. 75 people, her entire target leadership team, including Mark, her boss, her parents from Duluth, our mutual friends, her college roommates. Some of my colleagues who'd socialized with us over the years. I made it sound like the social event of the season. Please join us for a special celebration of Sarah Rodriguez's 36th birthday, the invitation read. An evening of surprises and recognition at the Minnetonka Country Club. Then, I made my most important calls. First, the Red Cross. I'd like to arrange a surprise recognition for my wife, I explained to the coordinator. She's been donating every 2 weeks for years. I thought it would be wonderful to honor her at her birthday party. How thoughtful! The coordinator exclaimed. What's your wife's name? I'll look up her donor history and prepare something special. Sarah Rodriguez. She usually donates at the Nicolet location. There was a pause, the sound of typing. I'm not showing any records for a Sarah Rodriguez in our system. Could she be under a different name? Try Sarah Martinez, I said, giving her maiden name. Maybe she never updated it. More typing. I'm sorry, sir, but I'm not finding any donor records at all. Are you sure she donates with the Red Cross? You know what? I said, feigning confusion. Let me double-check with her and get back to you. Maybe she uses a different organization. But I didn't get back to them. Instead, I called again a week later with a different request. I'd like to have someone from the Red Cross attend a charity event, I said, to speak about the importance of blood donation and recognize outstanding donors. They were happy to send a representative. What I didn't tell them was that they'd be recognizing a donor who didn't exist. My next call was to a tech-savvy friend who worked in Target's IT department. Hey, Dave, random question, I said casually. Sarah mentioned she sometimes uses the corporate gym. Do they keep records of guest passes? Oh yeah, Dave said. Everything's logged. Security, you know. Why? I was thinking of surprising her with a trainer for her birthday. Wanted to see if she's already working with someone. That's thoughtful. I can check if you want. What's her employee ID? I gave him the information, heard typing in the background. Looks like she has a regular guest, Dave said. Derek Walsh. He's been coming in with her twice a week for, wow, like 8 months. Must be her trainer, right? Must be, I agreed, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Thanks, Dave. That's really helpful. 2 weeks before the party, I made my final preparation. I had Jake do one more surveillance run, this time with a specific goal: get current photos and any additional evidence of their plans. He delivered. New photos of Sarah and Derek at the clinic, at restaurants, at the gym. But the gold was in the digital intelligence he'd gathered. Screenshots of emails between them planning their future business. Walsh and Rodriguez Wellness Solutions. Derek had already registered the LLC, listing himself and S. Rodriguez as partners. But the most damning evidence came from an unexpected source. Jake had found Derek's wife, Emma, on Facebook. Her recent posts were telling, "Some days are harder than others. But I'm choosing to focus on the positive and trust that everything happens for a reason." #stay strong, #better days ahead. Anyone know a good therapist who specializes in trust issues? Asking for a friend? The morning of the party, I made one final preparation. I called Emma Walsh. "Mrs. Walsh? My name is Michael Rodriguez. I believe your husband knows my wife, Sarah. I have some information you need to see. Can we meet this morning? It's urgent." There was a long pause. When she spoke, her voice was small, defeated. "I think I know what this is about." We met at a Caribou Coffee in Wayzata. Emma was lovely, soft-spoken, pretty in an understated way, with tired eyes that spoke of sleepless nights. She looked at the evidence Jake had compiled, tears rolling silently down her cheeks. "I knew," she whispered. I suspected. He's been different for months, working late, new clothes, constantly on his phone. But I kept telling myself I was being paranoid." "I'm sorry," I said, and meant it. "You don't deserve this. Neither do you." She wiped her eyes and I saw steel beneath the tears. That lying piece of garbage. 7 years of marriage, 2 beautiful kids, and he throws it all away for what? Some executive having a midlife crisis? "I'm having a party tonight," I said carefully. "Sarah's birthday. Derek will probably show up at some point. If you wanted to confront him." Her eyes glinted. "Oh, I'll be there. What time?" 7 o'clock, Minnetonka Country Club. Emma?" I paused. "Are you sure you want to do this publicly?" "He made his choices publicly," she said. "Let him face the consequences the same way. Besides, I want her to see what she's done. I want her to look at my children and understand that she helped destroy a family." "Bring the kids," I said. "It's supposed to be a family-friendly event, at least at the start." We parted with a strange sense of camaraderie. 2 betrayed spouses, planning our own version of justice. The party started at 6. I'd never seen Sarah so happy. She wore a new dress, a little black number that probably cost a fortune, likely charged to one of her secret credit cards. Her hair was professionally styled, her makeup perfect. The procedures had worked. She looked younger, more polished, beautiful even. It made what was coming harder and easier at the same time. "Michael, this is incredible," she gushed, surveying the lake room. I'd spared no expense, elegant floral arrangements, a professional photographer, premium open bar, gourmet appetizers. "How did you pull this off without me knowing?" "I had help," I said truthfully. I wanted tonight to be unforgettable. She kissed me, and I tasted champagne and lipstick and lies. "I love you so much." "I know," I said, because I did know. She loved me the way someone loves a comfortable chair or a reliable car. I was useful, stable, part of the life she presented to the world while she lived her authentic life in secret. The guests arrived in waves. Her target colleagues came in force: Mark, her boss, with his wife, the entire marketing team. Several VPs who Sarah was always trying to impress. Her parents arrived early, her mother immediately taking photos, her father proud and dignified in his best suit. "Mia looks beautiful," Carlos said to me. "You've made her so happy, Michael." "She's made herself happy," I replied, which was true enough. Our friends mingled, the photographer captured candid moments, The bartender poured generous drinks. Sarah held court like a queen, glowing with attention and champagne. Several people commented on how good she looked. "What's your secret?" her colleague Jennifer asked. "You look amazing." "Oh, Sarah laughed. "Good genes and lots of water." At 6:45, I tapped my champagne glass with a spoon. The room quieted, everyone turning to face me. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate Sarah's 36th birthday," I began, my voice carrying clearly through the room. "I wanted to make this special because Sarah is such a special person. In fact, she's been keeping a secret from all of us. She's too modest to tell you herself, but my wife has been saving lives." Sarah's face went pale. She started toward me, but I continued. "Every 2 weeks for the past 8 months, Sarah has been donating blood. Think about that. 17 donations, 17 pints of blood, potentially saving 51 lives. Let's hear from the Red Cross about Sarah's incredible contributions." I gestured to Janet, the Red Cross representative I'd positioned near the microphone. She looked confused, but gamely took the mic. "Thank you, Michael. We at the Red Cross are always happy to recognize our donors, but I have to admit, I'm a bit confused. We have no record of Sarah Rodriguez in our system." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Sarah's face had gone from pale to ashen. "No record?" I said, feigning surprise. "But she goes every 2 weeks. To the Nicolate location. Right, honey?" "There is no Nicolate location," Janet said helpfully, still not understanding what was happening. "Oh," I said. "Well, that is confusing. Maybe I can clear this up. I have a presentation prepared. If someone could dim the lights?" I'd given the AV team very specific instructions. The first slide appeared on the large screen behind me. Sarah's fake donor card next to the official Red Cross statement confirming no donations. "You see," I continued, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "Sarah hasn't been donating blood. She's been going here." Click. The next slide, Edina Plastic Surgery and Wellness Center. "Now, I know what you're thinking. So what if she wanted some work done? Nothing wrong with that. We all want to look our best. Except..." Click. The credit card statements. $47,000 highlighted in red. Gasps from the audience. I heard Sarah's mother make a small, wounded sound. $47,000 in procedures and other expenses. Paid for with cards I didn't know existed in this. Click. The 401k withdrawal form. $15,000 from her retirement, claiming medical hardship. But wait, there's more. Click. The Instagram page. There was Derek, clearly visible in multiple photos. The "My Real Husband" caption prominently displayed. For those who don't know, this is Derek Walsh. He's not her husband. I am. Or was. The room erupted. Sarah rushed toward me, but Mark, her boss, stepped in front of her. "Sarah, did you use your corporate card for any of this?" His voice was deadly quiet. She stopped dead, mouth opening and closing like a fish. Click. I'd saved the best for last. Screenshots of corporate card charges, meals at expensive restaurants, clearly showing 2 diners, hotel charges. "To answer your question, Mark," I said. Yes, she did." That's when Emma Walsh entered with her 2 children. She'd timed it perfectly, walking straight to the front of the room. Little Mason was holding his mother's hand, while Chloe followed, looking confused. "Where's Daddy?" Mason asked, his voice carrying in the shocked silence. As if on cue, Derek appeared in the doorway. He'd been waiting in the parking lot, probably planning to surprise Sarah later. He took one look at the screen, at Emma, at the children, and tried to back away. "Derek!" Emma's voice could have cut glass. "So nice of you to join your girlfriend's party. Kids, say hi to Daddy." What followed was chaos. Emma confronted Derek in front of everyone, her voice rising as she detailed his lies, his absence, his betrayal. Sarah tried to leave, but Mark followed, demanding answers about the corporate card. Other Target executives huddled, already on their phones with HR and legal. Sarah's parents sat in stunned silence. Her mother was crying quietly, while her father stared at the screen still showing the Instagram posts. The disappointment on his face was terrible to see. "Is it true, mija?" Carlos asked when Sarah tried to approach them. "All of it?" "Daddy, I can explain." "Explain?" Maria Martinez stood, shaking with rage. "Explain how you betrayed your husband, how you stole, how you lied to everyone, including us? We raised you better than this." They left without another word, Sarah calling after them. Meanwhile, Derek was trying to calm Emma while simultaneously texting on his phone, probably trying to reach Sarah. Emma grabbed his phone and threw it against the wall, where it shattered. 7 years! She screamed. 7 years, 2 kids, and you throw it all away for some executive having a midlife crisis? "Hey!" Sarah protested, but Emma rounded on her. You knew he was married. You knew he had children. What kind of woman does that?" The party emptied quickly after that. By 7:30, only the cleaning staff remained. I sat alone at the bar, nursing a scotch, when my phone buzzed. A text from Maria, my lawyer. "Just saw the videos online. 3 different people live-streamed it. This is going to make our job much easier." "File first thing Monday?" I responded with a simple, "Yes." Videos. Of course. In the age of smartphones, public humiliation was always recorded. By morning, the footage would be all over social media. Sarah's professional reputation would be destroyed. I finished my drink and headed home to an empty house. Sarah had wisely chosen to stay elsewhere, probably at Derek's, though I doubted Emma had left him with a place to stay either. Monday morning came with swift consequences. I filed for divorce at 9 a.m. By 10 a.m., Sarah was in a meeting with Target's HR department. By noon, she was suspended pending investigation. She called me that afternoon, crying. "How could you do this to me?" she sobbed. "You've ruined my life." "I ruined your life." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Sarah, you spent $47,000 of our money on procedures and hotels for your affair. You committed fraud using my social security number. You stole from your employer. You planned to divorce me and use the settlement to start a business with your married boyfriend. But I ruined your life?" "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," she said. "Derek and I, we fell in love. We couldn't help it. You could help stealing from me. You could help lying for 8 months. You could help calling him your real husband on Instagram." Silence. Then, "You saw that?" "I saw everything, Sarah. Everything." She hung up. It was the last real conversation we ever had. The divorce proceedings moved quickly. Sarah's lawyer tried to argue for an equitable split, but Maria shut that down efficiently. "Your client stole $47,000 of marital assets," Maria stated in our first meeting. "She committed credit card fraud by opening accounts in my client's name without his knowledge. She defrauded her employer. We have extensive documentation of all of this. She can either agree to our terms, or we can let a judge decide after all this evidence becomes public record." Sarah's lawyer, a tired-looking man named Peterson, reviewed the evidence and advised his client to settle. The terms were brutal, but fair in my opinion. Sarah had to reimburse the marital estate for the full $47,000. I kept the house. She got her car and personal belongings. All retirement accounts stayed with their respective owners, except she had to reimburse the $15,000 plus penalties from her 401k withdrawal. Due to her dissipation of assets and the fact that she'd destroyed her own career through theft, the judge ordered her to pay me alimony, $800 a month for 3 years. "This is highly unusual," Judge Martinson noted during the final hearing. "Typically, the higher earner pays alimony, but the respondent's actions were so egregious and resulted in such financial harm to the petitioner that equity demands this arrangement." Sarah stood there in a conservative suit, looking nothing like the glowing birthday girl from 2 months earlier. The procedures were already starting to fade without maintenance she couldn't afford. She'd aged years in weeks. Target fired her 2 weeks after the party. The corporate theft, combined with the public embarrassment, made her radioactive. Word spread quickly in Minneapolis's tight-knit corporate community. She was effectively blacklisted from any serious marketing position. Derek didn't fare much better. Lifetime Fitness has a strict policy about trainers having relationships with clients. Using his position to seduce a client and using her guest passes to access another company's facilities for their affair was grounds for immediate termination. Emma took him for everything in their divorce. Full custody of the kids, the house, child support that left him living paycheck to paycheck. She also made sure everyone in their social circle knew exactly why they divorced. Derek went from being a sought-after trainer at an exclusive gym to working at a budget chain in Bloomington. The criminal charges came next. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office charged Sarah with wire fraud for the insurance claims related to her 401k withdrawal identity theft for the credit cards opened using my social security number theft by swindle over $5,000 for the corporate card misuse. Her lawyer negotiated a plea deal, 2 years probation, 200 hours of community service, and full restitution to all parties. She avoided jail time, but barely. The community service was particularly fitting. She was assigned to work at a blood donation center, doing actual good for once instead of pretending. 6 months after the birthday party, I ran into Sarah's mother at a grocery store. Maria Martinez looked older, grayer. She saw me and started to turn away, then stopped. "Michael," she said quietly. "How are you?" "I'm doing well, Maria. How are you and Carlos?" Her eyes filled with tears. "We're managing. I wanted to say how sorry we are. We had no idea. The daughter we raised, she wouldn't have done these things. I don't know what happened to her." "People change," I said gently. "Sometimes not for the better." "We haven't spoken to her since the party," she admitted. "Carlos won't even say her name. He removed her from his will. Says we don't have a daughter anymore." "I'm sorry," I said, and meant it. "That must be hard." "What's hard is knowing we raised someone capable of such cruelty," she said. "But you didn't deserve any of it. You were a good husband, Michael. We always thought so." We parted awkwardly, two people connected by someone who'd betrayed us both. A year has now passed since that night at the Minnetonka Country Club. My life has moved forward in ways I couldn't have imagined during those dark days of discovery. The house feels different now. I hired an interior designer, paying cash, not credit, to redo everything. New furniture, new paint, new energy. The master bedroom where Sarah and I once slept is now my home office. I sleep in what used to be the guest room. Too many memories in the old space. Work has been interesting. The notoriety of the situation initially made things awkward. Colleagues didn't know what to say. But my boss pulled me aside a few weeks after everything went public. "I'm sorry you went through that," he said, "but I want you to know, the way you handled it, staying professional, not letting it affect your work, that showed real character. We value that here." 6 months later, I was promoted to senior financial analyst with a substantial raise. Turns out, being known as the guy who methodically documented financial fraud made me seem particularly trustworthy with numbers. I started dating again 4 months ago. Rebecca is a pediatric nurse at Children's Minnesota. We met, of all places, at a blood donation drive her hospital was sponsoring. The irony wasn't lost on either of us when I told her my story. "Wait," she said on our first date, laughing incredulously. "She pretended to donate blood for 8 months? That's the weirdest affair cover story I've ever heard." "Right? Like, why not just say you were going to yoga or book club or something normal?" "Because then she couldn't play the hero," Rebecca said, suddenly serious. "She wanted you to think she was this amazing, selfless person while she was being the exact opposite. That's some next-level manipulation. Rebecca is everything Sarah wasn't: straightforward, honest, genuinely caring. She actually does volunteer at blood drives, actually does care about helping people, When she says she's working late, she's actually at the hospital with sick kids, not at a plastic surgery center with someone else's husband. We're taking things slow. Trust doesn't come easily after what I've been through. But she understands that, respects it. She's never once complained when I've asked to see her phone or questioned where she's been. You've earned the right to be cautious, she told me early on. I've got nothing to hide. As for Sarah, the last comprehensive update I got was from a former mutual friend who ran into her at a mall in Burnsville. She's working retail at a department store, living in a studio apartment in a sketchy part of town. The procedures she got have started to require maintenance she can't afford. Without the Botox and fillers, her face is returning to its natural state, plus the wear of stress and consequence. She apparently tried to get back with Derek after everything fell apart, but he wanted nothing to do with her. He blamed her for ruining his life, conveniently forgetting he was an equal participant in their affair. Last anyone heard, he was dating a client from his new gym, because apparently, some people never learn. The Instagram account New Use Couple 2025 was deleted the day after the party, but screenshots live forever on the internet. Every few months, someone new discovers the story, and it makes the rounds again. Sarah Rodriguez has become a cautionary tale in certain Minneapolis circles. I still have moments of anger. Not the burning rage of discovery, but a cooler frustration at the waste of it all. 12 years of marriage. Thrown away for what? Procedures that need constant maintenance? An affair with a personal trainer who was also cheating? Instagram posts about living authentically? But mostly I feel grateful. Grateful I found out when I did. Grateful I had the resources to hire Jake Morrison. Grateful I discovered the truth before we had kids, or before she could execute her plan to divorce me first. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't gotten suspicious about the blood donations. Would she have continued indefinitely? Would Derek have actually left his wife? Would they have started their wellness business with my money? I'll never know, and that's fine. That's a different timeline, one where I remained a fool. Last week, I donated blood for real at the Memorial Blood Center, the actual one on Chicago Avenue. As I lay there watching the bag fill, the nurse thanked me. "O positive is always needed," she said. "You're helping save lives today." "It's the least I can do," I told her, and meant it. After everything that happened, after all the lies and betrayal and public humiliation, I've learned something valuable. There are people in this world who pretend to be good while doing terrible things. And there are people who quietly do good without needing recognition or Instagram posts about it. Sarah pretended to be a blood donor while draining the life from our marriage. She crafted an elaborate lie that painted her as a hero while she was destroying two families. She wanted to be seen as selfless while being utterly selfish. Now, I actually donate blood every 8 weeks. Not for show, not for praise, but because it's a simple way to help others. The irony makes me smile sometimes. I'm finally doing what she pretended to do. Rebecca occasionally asks if I regret the birthday party revelation. "You could have just divorced quietly," she pointed out once. "Avoided all the drama." "I could have," I agreed. "But she didn't just cheat. She stole, she lied, she committed fraud. She was planning to take me for everything while starting a new life with Derek. And those Instagram posts. The real husband thing? Yeah, that was just cruel. Unnecessary. She could have had her affair without that level of disrespect." "So you gave her the party she deserved," Rebecca said. "A very public unveiling of her authentic self." "Exactly. She wanted to stop living a fake life? I helped her do just that." The truth is, I don't regret it. Sarah made her choices. Every Tuesday and Thursday for 8 months, she chose Derek over our marriage. She chose to steal, to lie, to plan a future that didn't include me. She chose to document it all on social media, to brag about her deception. All I did was choose to reveal the truth in the most impactful way possible. She wanted a birthday party that would impress her colleagues and show off her new image. She got exactly that, just not in the way she expected. My name is Michael Rodriguez. I'm 39 years old, a senior financial analyst at Wells Fargo, and a survivor of one of the most bizarre marital betrayals you could imagine. My ex-wife pretended to be a blood donor to cover up an affair that cost $47,000 and destroyed 2 marriages. But I'm also something else now. Free. Free from lies, free from deception, free from someone who could look me in the eye every day and lie with a smile. Free from someone who thought saving lives was a good cover story for destroying them. Sarah taught me that people can surprise you in the worst ways. That someone you trust completely can become a stranger. That love isn't always enough when it's built on a foundation of lies. But she also taught me resilience. That you can survive betrayal and come out stronger. That sometimes the best revenge is simply revealing the truth. That there's life after deception. Better life, honest life, real life. I still live in our old house, but it doesn't feel like ours anymore. It's mine. My space, my future, my fresh start. The walls that once hurt her lies now witness my truth. The rooms that staged our fake life now host real connections. Rebecca will be moving in next month. We've taken our time, been careful, but we're ready for this next step. She's already planning where to put her things, talking about painting the kitchen a warmer color, building a life together, honestly, openly. No secrets, she said when we discussed moving in together. Ever. About anything. No secrets, I agreed. And definitely no blood donations unless you're actually donating blood. She laughed. Deal. Though I still can't believe that was her cover story. Neither can I sometimes. Of all the lies she could have told, she chose one that painted her as a hero. Maybe that's what bothers me most, not just the affair, but the performance of virtue while committing betrayal. But that's the past now. Sarah is living her authentic life in a studio apartment, working retail, paying restitution. Derek is training clients at a budget gym, paying child support, seeing his kids every other weekend. Emma is raising her children and rebuilding her life. Sarah's parents are coming to terms with who their daughter really is. And me? I'm living my own authentic life, dating a wonderful woman who actually is who she presents herself to be, succeeding in my career, donating blood for real, building something genuine on the ashes of what was fake. Sarah wanted to stop pretending. In the end, we all got what we wanted. She's not pretending anymore. Everyone knows exactly who she is. And I'm not pretending either. Not pretending our marriage was salvageable. Not pretending her betrayal was forgivable. Not pretending the truth should stay hidden. The truth, as they say, set us all free. Just not in the way Sarah expected when she was living her double life, one Instagram post at a time. My name is Michael Rodriguez, and this is my story. It's a story of betrayal and consequences, of lies and revelation, of a marriage that ended in the most public way possible. But it's also a story of survival, of justice, of building something real from the wreckage of deception. Sarah pretended to donate blood to save lives while destroying the lives around her. Now I donate blood for real, a small act of actual good in a world full of pretense. It's a peculiar form of closure, but it works for me. Every 8 weeks, I lie on that donation chair and watch my blood flow into the bag, knowing it will actually help someone. No lies, no deception, no Instagram posts, just a simple act of giving. That's more than Sarah ever did, despite all her pretense. And in the end, that's all that matters. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Even if it takes a birthday party revenge to reveal it.